How can I make my way in an industry that doesn't see me? Well, the answer was to just wish that you were a white person, which doesn't really do any of us any good, but it was a thing that I did wish.
This is Life in 7 Songs from the San Francisco Standard. I'm Sophie Behrman. My guest this week is B.D. Wong, the award-winning actor you know and love from Law & Order SVU, Jurassic Park, and many other roles both on screen and on Broadway. But before the awards and the cult following, B.D. was Bradley Darrell Wong, an Asian American kid growing up in San Francisco who loved performing, but struggled to embrace his identity as a gay Asian man, especially in an industry that didn't seem to have many role models for someone like him. Over time, B.D. discovered that the qualities he once saw as career liabilities might be his greatest assets. Today, he's even directing a documentary about Asian American representation in Hollywood, bringing his unique brand of joy and effervescence to this challenging topic. B.D. Wong, welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm very excited to be here. This is really great. The format of it, of course, is just great. And so thank you, Frank.
Oh, thanks for being here. Well, let's go all the way back to the beginning. You were born and raised in the Sunset District of San Francisco. Your mom worked for a telephone company. Your dad was a postal worker. What was your world in San Francisco like? Can you paint a picture of the environment, the community you were growing up in?
Yeah, I grew up in the Sunset, which was a new development at the time. At the time, my parents actually, as Asian Americans, had trouble securing a house there. They were not quite so open-minded. Now, of course, the Richmond and the Sunset districts are like Chinatown outside of Chinatown. It's lots of Asian families and homeowners out there.
Can you tell me a story that captures what kind of kid you were?
Well, I started taking music classes in elementary school. And I remember having a moment where, the teacher taught you some very rudimentary musical scales to sing. You all sang in groups of 3 or 4. And then she kind of walked around and leaned her ear towards you while you sang. And then I remember her responding to my, I don't know what it was, accuracy, enthusiasm, probably all of it. And then really kind of thrusting me into this world of music. So I was a kid that didn't know he really liked to perform, but was performing, and that was one of the things he liked doing most. It's it never really occurred to me that it was because I liked performing. It just was something that suited me. My dad had played musical theater, Broadway albums my whole childhood. My younger brother and my older brother didn't catch their attention at all, but I was deeply invested. I memorized all these albums that my dad played of classic golden age Broadway musicals. But I was a kid who every once in a while couldn't help himself but sing songs or kind of dance around the living room, probably to the concern of my parents and other people. I was very uninhibited in that way.
That's a great transition to your first song. It's Stop in the Name of Love by the Supremes. So what memories does this song bring up for you?
It is a whole childhood of Motown. And the Supremes in particular, I was fascinated by the Supremes. And I think I was a little gay boy that just loved, glamorous women and good music. I don't know, I just love this song. This is so great. I almost want to cry. And she steps forward, and she's flanked by them, and they're all aligned, and yet she's the kind of the leading energy of it. The reason why I think I really chose Stop in the Name of Love is because I remember specifically seeing them on talk shows and seeing them singing the song everywhere and understanding that the choreography somehow illustrated the lyrics of the song. Stop in the Name of Love literally had the stop gesture in it. And there was something super satisfying to me. And just memorable to me about it. I don't know what it was. I just thought it was the coolest thing.
I can totally relate. And, I grew up in the 90s, and this song has legs because my sister and I would, palm straight out, shaking our hips.
Yeah. All of that. I thought it was just wonderful.
Your next song takes us to your teen years.
Yes.
It's Behind Closed Doors by Charlie Rich.
Yeah.
Which I guess you said you were listening to around age 13. So what was going on for you as you listened to this song?
I was coming out to myself. I always tell people I think there are many degrees of coming out. You come out to yourself, you come out to your circle, you come out to the world. And so I was coming out to myself at that time, or even way earlier. But then in my intellectual understanding of lyrics and music coming together and processing the sound of a man's voice, these things all came together, and the song was very impactful to me. I still want to lock myself in the bathroom when I hear it. So, I don't, it just kind of struck a chord. That's what it is. It struck a chord.
And when we get behind closed doors, then she lets her hair hang down, and she makes me glad that I'm a man. Oh, no one knows what goes on behind.
I just love it. It's so corny to listen to it now because it's just so, we have our specific roles in this relationship, and you do what you do and I do what I do, and that's what makes it work. Well, then that sounds really great, and it's very intoxicating to me as a teenager. Now I'm kind of like, oh gosh. And that doesn't sound like a lot of agency on her part.
Yeah.
But, imagine a 12, 13-year-old kid listening to that and whatever effect it has on him.
Yeah. Well, when you wrote in about the song, you also mentioned that it established an affection for men with deep singing voices and a privacy fetish.
Oh, great. Oh, thanks for reminding me of the privacy fetish. Well, I think I coined the term, actually, as I was writing to you. All it means is I was really turned on by the idea of nobody knows what's happening here with us except us. Mm-hmm. This is like the ultimate in kind of intimacy, and the idea that you're behind closed doors. All of a sudden it comes to my mind another movie that was very popular, extremely popular when I was about this age, was The Godfather. And there's a scene where they're at a wedding and they go off away from everybody in the wedding. I don't even remember. They're in a room and they're up against the door. She's all in her like bridesmaid dress or something like that. Or I don't even know. Is she the bride? I don't even remember. But they're doing it. The juxtaposition of the kind of animalistic, you asked me to tell you about this, so I'm telling you. The animalistic, primal kind of urges and the propriety of how we're supposed to behave. The juxtaposition of that, I'm really into that. I think there's no other object or occurrence or piece of art or anything that exemplifies it as much as this particular song.
Absolutely. And thank you for being so open about that.
Oh, why not? You know what?
Well, around this same time in your teens, you mentioned your love of musical theater. And your next song, it's connected to that. It's There Is No Other Way from the original Broadway production of Pacific Overtures.
Yeah.
This is a Stephen Sondheim musical about the westernization of Japan in the 1800s. What was it like for you to see this show as a teen in San Francisco?
When I saw the show, I was fully in the throes of my newfound love of musical theater. Not really newfound, but newfound as far as a theater goer, like actually sitting in the seat watching actual productions. The show plays a really large part in my understanding of who I am actually as a musical theater actor, as an actor, as a member of the Asian American acting community. It is a show that originally was done primarily with all men in all the roles because it is patterned after the style of kabuki theater in Japan, where men play women's roles. But when I was 16, I saw the original production, and it was eye-opening. It was an unprecedented array of different sizes and shapes of Asian actors all in the same show. And we are a bit starved as people looking for themselves, looking for representation of themselves, particularly on stage in a show like this, in a Broadway musical. There are a handful of Broadway musicals that feature Asian performers. This became one of them in 1976, and it had incredible orchestrations by the legendary Jonathan Tunick, who was Sondheim's longtime orchestrator, and who just has created kind of goosebumpy moments in all of Sondheim's shows. This song has that moment in it for me, which I can't really explain. It's a very stirring song. It's a very painful song. It's using a kabuki convention, which is hard to explain, where there is somebody singing about what someone is saying, and the other person is singing what their inner thoughts are. And it's two men, but one of them is the character of this man's wife. This man's going out on basically what seems like a suicide mission, and she is singing her outward words to him. I will prepare for your return. There is no other way. There is no other way means we have to do this. You must go on this suicide mission. And then the other character is singing her inner thoughts. And it is between the dialogue that the wife is singing and the inner thoughts that this orchestration kicks in. Yes. And that is Alvin Ng, who is just an incredibly beloved, recently passed actor who was in the original production of Pacific Overtures, beloved by every actor who ever worked with it.
And I saw that that made you emotional listening to it. How come?
Partly because of Alvin, and partly because of, that trick question that you interviewers often ask, if you could talk to your 16-year-old self, what would you say? It's that kind of remembering who you were at the time.
Yeah. I think you wrote that you chased the main actor down the street after seeing the show. Can you tell that story?
Well, I was that kid. I was with my nerdy theater loving pal, and we saw him walking down the street, like smoking a cigarette after the show, and we chased him. And I was really embarrassing and probably stupid and all fluttery and stuff, but he signed my playbill. And that was in 1976. And then in 2004, I ended up performing in the show, and his was the role that I played in the roundabout production on Broadway, the revival. Sondheim was still alive, and that was a real full circle moment for me.
So I want to get into your journey from that theater kid with a sweaty playbill to a working actor. Your next song captures the early years of your career. It's Boogie Down by Al Jarreau. So tell me the story behind this one.
Oh my gosh. When I was 21, I moved to New York, and for a couple of years, I lived in an apartment on the corner of 42nd Street, the famous 42nd Street, in Times Square above a porno complex. It was called Show World Center. And it was one of those places where there were dancing girls, as well as video booths that guys could drop quarters in and watch clips of porno movies. And I lived there with two young women who were just fresh out of college, fresh out of Carnegie Mellon musical theater program. And now I think we realize it was kind of mob-owned, or mafia-owned even.
Right.
And I'll just tell really quickly before I get to the song part, that towards the end of it, I got a job that went out of town. And so I had to get someone to replace me on the lease there. And I had left some stuff there and came back maybe a few months later after my tour was done and met these two young women whom I didn't know. And the place was a mess. The white couch was all dirty, and there was a giant hole in the wall, like a big hole in the wall. And I said, what happened to the wall? You guys didn't take care of this place. And they said, oh, no, you didn't know? The FBI came. And then she went rustling through all these papers, and she pulled out this paper, which was a warrant from the FBI that said that they wanted to come and look in the walls and
Oh my God.
in the drains of the bathtub for the evidence of firearms and bodily remains.
What?
We're like, oh my gosh, this really is like New York, isn't it? 3 fresh-faced kids in New York wanting to be on Broadway, living in this apartment, and that's what happened. But the thing that was great was we had a great relationship because we were all very aware of the challenge of being actors. We supported each other in emotional ways as well as in practical ways. And I don't know how this actually came about, but we decided that whenever somebody had an audition, we would play this song and we would fling the door of the front door of the apartment open, and we would dance around the person who had an audition. And it was basically a kind of, you're going to do great. I'm getting a little emotional about it. You're going to do great. It's, because the whole idea of walking into a room as an auditionee is fraught with any number of variables, things that can go wrong. Is somebody going to be mean to you? Will you forget the words to the song? When you're inexperienced, especially, you're so vulnerable to all these things. And so here we were like trying to make ourselves resilient. And we put this song on, and it just became our anthem for good luck, strength, resilience, and ambition.
You are the winner, and you wanna be. You can be what you want to, and all you need is to get your boogie down. I can be all I want to, and all I need is to get my
Isn't that great?
down.
It's so like unapologetically on the nose.
It's time for a quick break. When we come back, the breakout role in a Broadway show that wins BD a Tony and changes everything. Stay with us. Your first big breakthrough was on Broadway in the Broadway show Butterfly, 1988, right?
Yeah.
You won the Tony and a bunch of other awards for your performance. What was the significance of that role that you played both professionally and personally?
The play is a play actually based on the fact of a real story about real people, about a French diplomat who fell in love with a Chinese opera singer and discovered that she was not only a spy for the Chinese government, but a man. It was the first Broadway play written by an Asian American writer, David Henry Huang, and he won the Tony for Best Play. So it was a milestone moment for the community and the movement of representation in some ways. I was actually kind of torn about what it meant to be an Asian American actor when early on in my career, I didn't feel represented. And I thought, well, how can I make my way in an industry that doesn't see me? And I felt, well, the answer was to just wish that you were a white person, which doesn't really do any of us any good. But it was a thing that I did wish. This is from when I was very little until probably this moment almost where I realized, oh, it's kind of cool to be Asian right now. This feels really good for me. I get my value, my beauty. I get a lot of different things that really escaped to me before. So that was how that show really was a change in my feelings, not just about the work, but about myself.
Are there roles that you didn't get because of your race or sexuality that stand out?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I would frame it that way, but, people do ask what roles do you dream of playing or whatever. And I don't think any of the Asian roles on the list from the Asian American musical theater canon, for example, are those roles. So they tend to be roles that are traditionally thought of as white roles or neutral roles. I think the ship has sailed for me to play the baker in Into the Woods.
Did you ever go out for it? Or I guess
I did, yeah.
Oh,
I did.
okay.
That was a role that I coveted really, really deeply. And I came really close a couple of times, but it never happened. It could happen maybe in a particular context that might be sweet someday.
Well, let's talk about one of the roles that you did land, Dr. George Huang on Law & Order SVU. What was it like to land that role?
Oh, I mean, it was a really important job for me to get when I had it. I was on it for 11 years.
Yeah.
So I was deeply entrenched in that job. And, as an actor, you don't get a regular giggy job like that lasts so long, ever. It's such a incredible, once in a lifetime kind of job. Prior to that, I had exposure. I wasn't completely unknown, but the exposure on a network television show like that, incredibly powerful. It's just really, really kind of an eye-opening thing that, people know you, they can recognize you in a completely different way than they did prior to being on the show. So I'm really grateful to the show. They hinted that they might ask me to come back again, but you never know about things like that. I can only just tease that because I don't know how real that would be.
Well, fans will be so happy to hear this. That's exciting. Your next song is The Greatest Discovery by Elton John. Why'd you include this one?
I love the totality of the song. In fact, of all the songs, maybe There Is No Other Way from Pacific Overtures is the other song which I would say, oh, I wish you could play the whole thing. The Greatest Discovery has a great kind of beautiful lyric by Bernie Taupin, and it's an Elton John song. It's not one of his more famous ones. It's a kind of a poetic journey of something that's rather cryptic in the beginning, but the song is really about a young kid waking up in the morning on a very cold winter morning. And then he goes into a room and he looks into a crib and he sees a baby, and the baby is his brother. But you don't really know that's what he's singing about for the whole first 7/8 of the song. And it becomes clear at the very end. It's the very last line of the song. This is your brand new brother. This is your brand new brother.
And all you ever learn from them until you grew much older did not compare with the one they said. This is your brand new brother.
I have an affinity for songs that kind of tell a story. I don't like, AABA songs necessarily as far as my absorption of them as an audience member. I love Stop in the Name of Love and those Motown songs and everything, but they're basic songs. They're basic songs about basic feelings and emotions that don't have an arc to them. But this song is a whole kind of journey, and the poetry is beautiful. I think it's theatrical. That's why I like it, actually.
This song is about two brothers, which makes me think of what happened when your twins were born in 2000. Can you share that story?
I can. In 2000, my partner at the time, Richie, and I decided to become parents. And I had gone to a family reunion, and all my cousins had kids. And I have 23 cousins. I mean, it was like so many kids and so many little babies. And I was like, I came home and I thought, oh, wow, it's not going to happen for us the same way as it happened for my other cousins. We have to do something about it. If we talked about having kids on our first date, probably, and so that started this journey of becoming parents. And we ended up with a wonderful surrogate, who, as luck would have it, was pregnant with identical twins. And I was elated and full of joy over it. And as happens sometimes, the birth was not successful. The firstborn twin did not survive the birth.
That must have been so painful. And
oh my God, Sophie, it was like a sense of disbelief. Like, oh my gosh, this is actually not happening the way I thought, or hoped or dreamed. So we have a beautiful son now who's 25, and he's wonderful, and he is all I need. I would say that his birth is always, for me, colored by the drama of it, of his birth, and of the sweet expectation and sad realization that there wasn't that relationship that I so looked forward to fostering and nurturing and encouraging between them. Even 25 years later, I still feel really tender about it. And I still feel, to be quite honest, really jealous of people that have twins. I can't help it.
I understand that the experience also led to your memoir, Following Fu.
Yes. Jackson, my son, was born at 28 weeks. They were born at 28 weeks, and that was why it was so challenging for Boaz, the firstborn. And so Jackson immediately went into the neonatal intensive care unit, and he was there as the doctors promised us for the exact amount of time that he would have been if he was to have been born, 3 months. Yeah. And that period was really fraught with frustration and fear and all of that. And I just started writing emails that kind of went viral because people forwarded them to other people. And I came home, they sent us home, and I had written these pages and pages of hundreds of pages of emails. It started out like, it's too hard for me to like tell you all individually what's actually happening.
Right.
He's going to have an operation in 2 weeks. And then it became me like expressing myself in this cathartic kind of way. And it was my outlet and my reconnection to myself as a writer. And it was also my ability or my desperate need to find humor in it, as well as to express my fear and to tell people what was happening. And somebody told a lit agent or something, and all of a sudden somebody wanted to make a book out of it, and a book came of it. And then I was about to go on a book tour. I was going to be on Anderson Cooper, and I was going to be on the Today Show and a whole bunch of other shows. And I realized in that moment, packing in the frenzy of it all, that I hadn't thought about or hadn't processed or even dealt with the fact that meant I was coming out. And of course, as I said before, we come out to ourselves, we come out to our circle, we come out to the world.
Yeah.
And so I had done the first two, but I hadn't really done the third one. And so here was me going, hey, this is it. Like, you don't have a choice. This is happening. And you better get with the program of it. And at the time, I was doing a lot of public speaking. Over the years, I had become a public speaker. I'm still very active as a public speaker. And I was very rigid about my presentation. I read the speech from a script that was in a presentation binder. I stayed behind the lectern. And as soon as I had this kind of coming out process, I immediately felt very differently about myself. I didn't have to edit myself at all anymore. I didn't have to worry about what the question and answer was going to yield. And if you're going to set an example for people, it's best if you set an example that's actually really unfettered, unencumbered.
I love that. Well, and I know that eventually you and Jackson's father split up and you went on to marry your now husband, Kurt. And you picked a song that connects to your relationship. It's Beyonce's Love on Top.
Well, this is our wedding song. This is one of the many wedding songs that Reichert and I picked. Reichert is a brilliant at many things, but also he's really a music file, and he's a huge Beyonce fan. And for some reason, as you know already, I'm a kind of a musical theater guy, a Motown guy. And there was something that crossed over in this song when we're talking about music for our wedding that really appealed to both of us. I don't know, there's something about how she kind of knocks it out of the park, the way she lands the idea through her energy in her body, that is so incredibly powerful. That's what I'm noticing and when I'm hearing it. It's so aggressive. It's not light. It's important. She's underscoring the importance of the feeling of love by singing it so unabashedly aggressively. I love that.
It's making me think of the first song we talked about too, Stop in the Name of Love. There's...
And of course, she played Dina Jones in the movie Dreamgirls, which is loosely based on the Supremes, and the whole journey of that. And really, the legacy of Diana Ross is not a small one. Her sense of this whole discussion that we were having about representation is really important. And a direct arrow pointing right to Beyonce.
And in a sense, to your final song, which is Accentuate the Positive by Dr. John. This is connected to a documentary you're directing.
About representation.
Exactly. About representation. So tell me why you chose this song.
Well, I'm making this wonderfully rich documentary about Asian actors and what we go through and our funny, strange, quirky, overlapping neuroses and obstacles.
Yeah.
One of the big recurring themes is the notion that we're often expected and asked to speak with an accent. These are Asian American actors. They have a very Asian American identity. You don't, for example, ever ask white American actors, oh, could you please do this with a Swedish accent? Or could you please do this with an Italian accent? Unless the character is actually Italian. And so it shows you from a representational point what value we have and what kind of characters are being written for us that we're being asked to speak with these accents. And so we put together a trailer of this. And so I immediately thought of this song, which is Accentuate the Positive, just because of the fact that the word accent is in the name, Accentuate the Positive.
Okay. Oh, I didn't even, Love it.
And so what was lovely for me was the wonderful treasure trove of opening up a great, well-known standard like this and seeing all the covers. Aretha has a cover of Accentuate the Positive. All the great crooners have a Accentuate the Positive. And then there's this Dr. John, Accentuate the Positive, which stood out from the rest.
You got the accent, your way to positive, eliminate the negative. That on to the affirmative, no best and mister in between. You got to spread your...
So good.
You know, and if you're not familiar with the song, they don't sound like that. That's a great arrangement of this song. He took it and he really made it something really cool. Literally, it felt to me like a Randy Newman song arrangement from a Pixar movie. And I wanted the song to be very lighthearted. I wanted it to be buoyant. I wanted it to carry the audience through the muck of all of what is challenging about what we're saying in the movie and leave us with a residual sense of positivity.
It's full of joy in a topic that is painful, I imagine, for many and still ongoing.
Challenging at best, right? And what I didn't want to make a whiny movie. I wanted to get all the points across, but I didn't want an academic kind of like, oh, this is the pain that needs to be shared, the story that must be told. I wanted, first of all, I know a lot of Asian actors, no surprise. And they're all wonderfully talented, but also really funny and have great stories. And that was really what was driving this. I call it anecdotally driven. I want them to just tell their stories that correspond to these various subjects.
And you, of course, are extremely funny. I have had so much fun talking to you.
Oh my gosh, thanks.
Thank you so much.
I'm really pleased and happy that you asked me. So thank you so much for this experience.
Thank you. This was such a joy. Life in 7 Songs is a production from the San Francisco Standard. You may have noticed that we're doing video now, so if you're listening or watching on Spotify, I hope you're enjoying that. You can also check it out on YouTube. If you liked this episode, please subscribe, review the show if you haven't done so already. It makes a really big difference for us. This episode was produced by me and Tessa Kramer. It was mixed by me. Our theme music is by Kate Davis and Zubin Hensler. Jess Hutchison created our show art. Our music consultant is Sarah Tembekshian. I'm Sophie Behrman. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next week.